Old TV shows on VHS, fresh chicken sandwiches. Life at the Savior Sanctuary is pretty sweet, if you can pay the price. It's The Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 3, The Cell. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So, of course, there are spoilers ahead. You've been officially warned. Alright, so we get kind of a nice straightforward episode. Still, we are not back in Alexandria. We're dragging out to see all of Rick and company's reaction upon returning to town. Like last week, we got to check out the kingdom. This week, we are checking out the sanctuary, Negan and the Savior's little self-home there. And things are pretty sweet. I mean, they're pretty sweet for Dwight. They're pretty sweet for Negan. They're pretty sweet for those guys. They've got plenty of supplies. They can get some fresh meal. They got some power. They've got old VHS tapes, some Who's the Boss action going on. Kind of funny, kind of appropriate. Are we reinforcing an idea here? But again, all really nice. If you are on the top there. For the regular workers, they are moving bodies around. They are moving walkers around, positioning them outside. And that seems to be more of a busy work thing. They're not really set up from a strategic type like a guard or just loose roaming around inside of a barrier gate like they had in the Colonia and Fear the Walking Dead. These guys seem to be all just placed various around, and I don't know if that's so much busy work for the guys, the lower class guys here in the A suits, or what the actual deal is with that, because they don't seem very, I don't know, there doesn't seem like a security wall there, or some way of using the walkers as a type of defense. But that's what they're busy doing. They're working, earning points, trying to make their lives better. And then, of course, we have Daryl in the cell, obviously the focus of the episode from the title. And this is kind of an attempt to break Daryl down. He's in the dark, he's being fed dog food sandwiches. Hey, at least he's got bread, right? I mean, there's a plus. And of course, a lot of music torture playing 24/7, it seems. The moment he tries to lay himself down and maybe get a bit of rest, it's going. These are standard psychological breaking tactics, and they're being used exquisitely. And of course, his torturer to be is Dwight. We all know Dwight, and of course, we're really reflecting back to, in many ways, Dwight's first encounter with Daryl in and out throughout this episode. Of course, we have Sherry there. Sherry, who was Dwight's wife, now no longer, now Negan's wife. And you can definitely see the tension that is caused from all that, not only between Dwight and Sherry, but even those small scenes between Dwight and Negan. While Negan is feeling, as he explains to Daryl later on, that we did all these things and Dwight came back and he paid the price and we are all good. I'm not getting that feeling. I am not getting the feeling at all that things are really that good between Dwight and Negan. I think Dwight is putting on a face, a burned face, but a face nonetheless to try and stay in the good graces and reinforce. But throughout this episode, and really while we are looking at Daryl's sort of breakdown, in much of this episode we are also looking at Dwight starting to take a new look at where he is. And maybe not all that different. Obviously, he did run away beforehand with Tina and Sherry, and of course, Tina ended up dying in the midst of the forest there when they had ran into Daryl, which of course led the whole Negan marriage thing that was explained towards the end of the episode. But again, he had these thoughts. He obviously thought to leave, turned around and came back, realizing there was really no place to go. But this episode constantly kind of breaking down. I mean, we even see it in that opening bit when he is making his sandwich and he sees the other guy having an argument with the rest of the guys and then pulls the shirt off and then he just ends up getting a beat down. We see him very shortly after out on the fence as a walker. And of course the orange alert, which is I guess what they call when somebody attempts to run away, We had Dwight chasing him down. And a nice little interaction there. You know, they were friends and things had changed. And now this guy has evidently lost everything. His wife died, his friends, everything else. He didn't feel there was anything else to lose. But as Dwight points it out, and which is very much, I think, a Negan philosophy here, is there's always someone else. Everyone that you've ever talked to, we'll put them out on the fence. We'll dig up your dead wife and feed her the dogs. I mean, there's always more tortures. And that's sort of what Sherry was implying in with Daryl. The idea is that it can always be worse. And so we've got that kind of idea. Now, did think that Dwight might have been a little merciful and shot the guy in the back of the head. Ends up by the end of the episode, no, he just shot him in the back, killed him, and then returned him back to Negan as a walker to put up on the wall, which I'm sure would be a standing order from Negan. If they die, bring back their bodies at least, you know, put them up on the wall. That this is not a way, there is no escape. And that's really from Negan's standpoint what he was trying to put out, is there is no escape, there is no recourse available on any level. You're either going to work for him by being a walker on the wall, or work for him earning points, or work for him willingly and get all of the fun stuff. But either way, you're going to work for Negan. And his presence, obviously, very strong. Whenever he walks in, everybody kneels. He's got a very strong presence that is felt by everyone. Nobody crosses Negan. And they all do what he says. This is also one where we got to see what Daryl's attempted escape. That was very cool to see, but obviously didn't work. And you're gotta kind of think, did he leave the door open on an accident? Was it on purpose? Was this a test? I have to admit that I was kind of thinking along those lines, which is probably why Sherry came up and grabbed him and said, hey, it can always be worse. Let me tell you about this. And then, and as we know, it did. Because the story with I think Dwight and her was very appropriate. They went out, they came back. Negan couldn't have the sister, so now he took her, and it was just so her idea of that things can always get worse. She's kind of living that, because before she was with Dwight, and now she's got to be with Negan. But those ideas aren't obviously sitting well with Daryl, who still tries to escape. All of that ends up being a test just to see what is it that you would do. Of course you're going to run away. That guy's crazy. But crazy and, I don't know, charismatic. That's one thing about Negan, is that there is sort of a point, there is sort of a logic to what it is that he is doing. Yes, he is crazy. Yes, he is torturous. Yes, he will beat the hell out of people. He will take them down to their root means in order to get what he wants. But once he gets what he wants, then he doesn't really hold anyone as a threat. So there is an interesting and odd and dark sort of rule book and code that goes with Negan, but still not someone that you want to cross. Now, dropping the picture down of Glenn's beaten, headless corpse, I think was, I don't know, I think the idea was to serve that as a reminder of what it is that you have done, what the score is, as Dwight had mentioned him, and to see if he can find a way to move forward off of that. I think it had the actual opposite effect for Daryl, because Daryl already feels bad about this, and it was a great little scene of him kind of breaking down. They changed the music, you know, from Easy Street, which was just kind of cruel, to a little bit of crying there from Elvis Presley, which obviously caused the floodgates to open up with Daryl there. But in some ways it reinforces, because as Dwight talks to him at the end and tries to convince him, and that's the thing, Sherry and Dwight are both trying to get Daryl to turn. And in some ways I think they both still like him. Sherry doesn't have reason to dislike him. And Dwight, even with everything that he's done, I think Daryl is kind of a reminder of maybe what Dwight used to be, a stronger individual. Like he had said, I didn't think that I would kneel down. I said that, and still here I am. Obviously having the face burned after the whole return trip from his little adventure with Sherry there previously. But I think they are earnestly really trying to get Daryl to turn, to get himself out of this situation. But as Daryl tells him at the end, I understand, Dwight, why you did this. You were thinking of someone else. There was Sherry that he was concerned about. By going back, he could guarantee her life in one form or another. Didn't exactly see it being with Negan, but in a way, that's what he was thinking of. And he probably maintains doing what he's doing because he realizes that Sherry would be the first person to pay the price off of that. Because that is one person that Dwight cares about. And I think Negan sees that whole offering of sex to him. Hey, go pick out a girl as long as she says it's okay. And Dwight's saying, no, that's only happening when you are still in love. Really, that's what it says. And I think that's what Negan sees, and that's what his statement. Are we cool? I don't think everything seems cool right here. Dwight tries to play it off naturally, but both of them are still kind of seeing the truth that's going on right there, and I think that's some of the great writing and great acting that's happening in with this. But Daryl, again, can see that there is somebody that Dwight cares about. For Daryl, he doesn't have anyone here. Negan already killed Glenn. He killed Glenn because of Daryl's action, and Daryl darn well knows that. So even putting the picture down, it's just reminding him of why he cannot break. Because I think he also knows the first thing that would happen if he was working for Negan is he'd have to be sent back to Alexandria and maybe do something to one of his friends that he doesn't want to do. So he's not going to put himself in that position. He'd rather be tortured. He'd rather be put on the wall. Any of these things, because he believes that he deserves it, and it prevents him from having to do something worse to someone else that's still alive that he does care about. So I understand, it's a very interesting dynamic that's going on here, and I think that is what finally in those last scenes is really weighing heavily on Dwight when he again then sees his friend that he brought back from that trip on the wall. This is just what's going to happen. It's a never-ending story unless somebody there decides to make some changes. All right, just a couple little small things. One, little flashes of light. I wasn't sure if that was maybe just my TV. I don't believe so. When Daryl was in the dark there in the cell, there was little flashes of light before the door would open up. I'm not really sure what those meant. I know I'm saying it and I'm not giving an answer out, but I'm not really sure exactly what that means, if it's an attempted passage of time. Sometimes in a dark room you'll catch flashes of light. It's just the nerves going off in your eyes because it's not getting any input and something tends to happen. But he did have the little light from underneath the door, so I'm not sure if it was quite that. Anyway, I'm going to look into more of that. I'll put some notes in the comment section down if I find some more information on that. But it repeated enough that I think there was something to that happening. What it is, I can't say right now. And the motorcycle. Poor Daryl's bike, man. That's seeing it. And Dwight is obviously really trying to be like Daryl. He's got his crossbow, he's got his bike, he's got his vest. Daryl wants to be like, or Dwight wants to be like Daryl, for sure. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that whole sequence where the tire on the front of the bike was destroyed. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if there was another scene that ended up being cut out that cured that, because he pulled up to that odd overcrossing that had the walkers falling down. Why he didn't just drive past that, maybe he was slowing down to see if there was some obstacle. Okay, the bike was operating fine then. Now, the walker did fall, and he did push the bike down and jump out of the way. I've owned motorcycles all my life. That is not going to do that type of damage to that tire. The only thing like that's going to happen is a high-speed fall or an impact onto something is going to damage a front tire to that extent. So I was kind of a little bummed out. We didn't see what had happened. There wasn't really a clear explanation of why that damage occurred. And obviously they did that close-up shot of it, so there was some importance to it, and it's why he was sort of pushing the bike. How he was planning to bring the guy back, just having to get on the back of the bike and drive off, that, I don't know. Not really a lot of thinking ahead here. I mean, it was kind of the one kind of weaker section, I think, of this particular episode. There should have been a car, should have been with someone else. The only thing that would have made sense. But just a heads up, I don't know what the hell happened to that motorcycle tire, but it certainly wasn't just dropping the bike there underneath the overpass. And of course, for all the Norman Reedus fans, Naked Daryl. You're welcome. All right, so I think that will wrap us up for this week. Now, next week, we do finally get back to Alexandria. So we get to see the whole impact of the Alexandrians and Rick dropping the news that Negan is the new boss. And we've got it's an extra half hour to 90 minutes for next week. So a lot more extra fun to dive in and enjoy. So that will be it. We'll have to wait until then to see how all that plays out. If you did enjoy this, go ahead and hit that like button down there. You can hit the subscribe button. Come back every week. And in fact, I'll throw up a little playlist right up here. If you didn't catch any of the previous reviews for Walking Dead, you can hit that. The first one has the opening bit that is my replay of the season finale from last season, the whole pre-bat bit with everyone. So it's kind of fun, a little lighthearted. Might be a couple of weeks now. You might be able to enjoy that. So go ahead and check that out. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. There it is right there. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. So I am D, the real D, not that D. Screw that guy. I'm D, and I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next week. Take it easy. Bye-bye.